Today's video is sponsored by our good friends at Famous Faces and Funnies, located in Melbourne, Florida. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. As well as our friends at Docking Bay 94, located in Boca Raton, Florida. Check us out on comicsandgames.com. And lastly, Ian's Display Accessories, the best figure stands for iconic Hasbro, G.I. Joe, and Kenner Star Wars, shipping nationwide. Hey, welcome to another exciting episode of Codename New TV Road 2. Hi, I'm your presenter, Shabu RU. Now, coming off the heels of our Cobra Island Viper review, I wanted to follow up with the other figure that I had gotten on the same trip, and that is the Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom BlackArachnia. Now, this is perhaps the first non-GenX era character slash toy that I'm going to feature, because the reality is Beast Wars occurred when many of us were either in high school or in college. Now, for those that are younger than us, like my little brother, Beast Wars was their entry into Transformers. I remember walking by while he was watching an episode, and I hated it just because it wasn't G1. And I thought that this Optimus Primal was an insult to Optimus Prime. I despised it for all the wrong reasons, and I had to give it a chance. But the reason why I'm doing this is to showcase to GenXers, now that they're incorporating Beast Wars into this new Netflix, the next saga as part of this War for Cybertron, I thought this would be a good time for us old GenXers to actually be introduced to this character. And as you guys know, I've already had a collection of female Transformers, so I might as well add this one and have the complete listing of all female Transformers. So let's talk a little bit about the character, and then we're going to dive into the review. I'm going to give a basic overview just for those that might not know. I highly recommend watching Rodimus Primal for the more proper Transformers recap than what I would do. But just use this as an introduction. Okay, so Beast Wars debuted in '96. Now, many of us don't know that the stage for Beast Wars actually occurred while our G1 Autobots and Decepticons were deactive and laid in slumber inside of the Ark. Now, the Maximals were the descendants of the Autobots, and they were led by Optimus Primal. The Predacons were descendants of Decepticons, and they were led by Megatron. It was also a landmark show, as it was one of the first to use computer animation. And it's kind of funny watching it now, because it really shows how dated it is. And ironically, the Sunbow series doesn't feel as dated, even though that it stopped 10 years prior to Beast Wars. But man, it really the age of it really shows. I have already featured some Earthrise toys as part of this Hasbro Netflix War for Cybertron trilogy. And man, they are phenomenal. You'll see next week when I do my top 10 how many spots they occupy. Earthrise came out on December 30th. So Kingdom will be the third installment. So far, I've really enjoyed the series. It has its plus and minuses, but it's a great mix of G1 stuff that we loved and are familiar with, as well as some new elements. Now for Kingdom, the news that the Beast Wars characters will now interact with G1 characters is huge, and it has the fan base going nuts. So today we're going to look at BlackArachnia, who is probably the first bad female character to be introduced in Transformers. And what caught my eye is that her sculpt is so unique, and because I'm already collecting female Transformers, I had to add her into my collection, and I think you'll see why. So let's take a look. BlackArachnia's backstory is pretty funny. Remember, this is a kid show and a toy line. Her designer is said to be inspired by an Asian exotic dancer. I kid you not. That explains why she's sporting double D's. Robot boobs, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I had to get that out of the way, and I knew you're sitting there thinking and wondering why. So there's the answer. So we begin looking at the box art. Now, if you watch my other episodes, you'll see that each one in these series has a distinct look to it. So Earthrise had a look, and then Siege had its own type of graphics and look. This one has a little bit more yellow, and again, I wanted to add this figure because it was so unique to the other female Transformers that I have been collecting, and that's what drew me to this figure. I think that it's so different from what we're used to that the curiosity and appeal of it is what caught my eye, and also the engineering that would be involved. And here we look at the actual official logo for Kingdom, and I think it's wonderful. You got like some of the Beast Wars characters, and we'll see Megatron, BlackArachnia. Like there's so many things going on in this series that are positive. It's of course nothing is perfect, but I think they're doing a pretty excellent job with this series. Now they're saying that it takes 20 moves to transform this, and you guys know that I totally suck at transforming. Now the box art follows the other Hasbro lines, like we have the Black Series, so it's following that design. And yes, I finally found my Craftsman lock blade. So let's crack this bad boy open. As a character, BlackArachnia is interesting. So despite being a quote-unquote villain, she actually falls in love with the Maxwell named Silverbolt. Now for us G.I. Joe fans, just think of Zorana and Mayframe's love for one another. So as a result, she starts aligning herself with the good guys. But just when you think she has changed for the good, she will use seduction or carry out her hidden agenda. Thus the cycle begins all over again. So now we have everything out of the box. I wanted to point a few things out. You see she comes with this holographic card as well as her gun, which looks like a girl's toy. Yeah, that's interesting. But it is actually an excellent representation of her gun on the TV show. Including a card is actually unique for Kingdom. In Earthrise, they had those old red decoder strips, and then they had a map. So when you watch the TV show, you could use that decoder and see where the Autobots are going. And I think that was kind of unique. So in this series for Kingdom, they're including a card. So I think that's kind of cool that even within a toy line, they have little trinkets just to individualize it. And again, we have a nice look at her sculpt. And of course, there we go, zooming in on those robot boobs. That's so weird. But again, like aside from all that nonsense, the figure itself is excellently engineered. And that's what I am amazed with Takara and Tomy, how they have done this. Now, I think as for me and a lot of you G1 guys, overcoming a prejudice that we may have had concerning Beast Wars and appreciating it for what it is and its uniqueness. And again, as you guys know, I suck at transforming. I hate this part. And I have like a degree from a top 50 university, so the fact that I struggle with this just pisses me off. But it took me like a half an hour to get this because it's very, very complex. And now we finally got it. And it looks really good. It looks like a Black Widow. I had a not so fun experience with the Black Widow spider. I have several of them growing around the hibiscus flowers, and I once got bit and I had to actually go to the emergency room because there was a venom trail going up my arm the next morning. And I thought this was cool. I put BlackArachnia in Snake Mountain. So all us 80s kids will appreciate this a little bit more, but I think she looks great there. And now we have her next to all of the other female Transformers. And you can see why I targeted this figure and that her uniqueness over the other female Transformers that were offered. And you see all the Autobots cornering BlackArachnia. Surrender! This looks great. I think having female representation in my Transformers line as well as my G.I. Joe is a home run. So as we wrap up this episode, I wanted to add a little bit more fun, and we see her grabbing hold of Tripwire and then Grimlock taking a bite out of her. I mean, so much things you could do. And just because you're a G1 fan and you're not a diehard modern Transformers fan, you could enjoy this line just as much. And there's a lot of elements that will surprise you. And if you watch my other episodes, you'll see that. And I really highly recommend everyone to look into this line and give these figures a chance. Well, anyway, this is Shabu Argue, signing off.